The future value of annuity formula, future value of annuity is equals to A into 1 plus R whole to the power of n minus 1 divided by R. And annuity is an agreement to make a series of payment of a certain amount of money to a specified person for a predetermined period of time. Future value is equals to 1000 into 1 plus 0.075 whole to the power of 6 minus 1 divided by 0.05 into 1 plus 0.075. Hello students, how are you all? I hope you are doing good. I welcome you to the financial management session. So today's class we are going to learn about the calculation of present value of salvage value, and we are going to talk about calculation of annuity in case of present as well as future value. So in the previous class we have learned about calculation of present value and future value. So today's session is all about continuation of the previous session. So before I move on to the detailed calculation part, let me do my introduction. I'm Vaishnavi, Faculty of Commerce from Vidhyaashram First Grade College, Temple of Excellence, MYSURU. So we'll see the agenda. So as I've told, we are going to learn about calculation of the salvage value, and we are going to learn about calculation of the annuity in case of present as well as future value. So we'll start with the calculation part. So let me start with the first question. When the salvage value is given at the end, that means the maturity value or the value of the investment option has been given at the end of the year. So during that time, supposed to calculate the present value and future values in case of salvage and value that has been given at the end. So the question, compute the present value of a project from the following. So we have got cash outflow, cash inflow. So for the first year, some person have deposited 70,000, and for the second year, the person have deposited 15,000, and the cash inflow is 10,000. The PV factor at 10% is 0.909. At second year, the cash inflow is 20,000. The PV factor is 0.826. At third year, the cash inflow is 30,000 and the PV factor is 0.751. Then cash inflow is 40,000. The PV factor at 10% is 0.683, and the cash inflow at last year, that is fifth year, is 20,000, and the PV factor at 10% is 0.602. Continuing, so we are going to start with the calculation part. So first step is to computation of a present value of the cash inflow. So we have got cash inflows and cash outflows. So these are all cash inflows. So these are all cash outflows. So I hope so you can identify it. So first we are going to calculate the present value of the cash inflows. So for the first year, as per the question, the cash inflow is 10,000 and discount factor at 10% is 0.909. So we'll get the present value is how to calculate cash inflow into the discount factor. So we'll get 9,090 rupees. So 20,000 into 0.826 will get 16,520. Then 30,000 into 0.751 will get 22,530. 40,000 into 0.683 will get 27,350. 20,000 into 0.602 will get 12,400. So at the end of the year, so we have got a salvage value of 20,000 rupees. So into 0.602, the present value is 12,400. So if we add all these, so we'll get the present value of the cash inflow is 1,260,000 rupees. Next step is to calculate the present value of the cash outflow. For the first year, usually the present value or the discount factor 10% will be 1.000. Okay, so 70,000 into 1, so we'll get 70,000, and as per the table, so for the first year, the cash inflow is 15,000 and discount factor is 0.909. So for the present value, we'll get 13,635. So if we add both, so we'll get 83,635. So now we have calculated the present value of the cash inflows and cash outflows. So in order to get the present value of the project, so we are supposed to calculate the net present value with a small table, that is present value of cash inflow 1,260,000 minus present value of cash outflow 83,635. So we'll get a net present value of 16,625. So this is how you calculate the salvage value of the project. So we'll move on to the next question. So here we have got an Alpha Company Limited is considered the purchase of new two machines, two alternative machine A and machine B, having suggested cost of rupees 4 lakh. So the cash inflows are being expected like this. So this is machine A cash inflow. So next is about continuing. The company has a targeted return on capital of 10%, and on this basis you are required to compare the profitability of the machine and state which alternative you choose financially preferable. So they have given the cash flows of two machines, machine A and machine B. So we are supposed to find out the present value of the machine A and machine B, and we should recommend which project or which machine should be preferred. So we have also got the table values here. So the discount factor 10% for first, second, third, fourth and fifth year is 0.91, 0.83, 0.75, 0.68 and 0.62. This is the question. So we'll move on to the calculation part. So first thing, we have taken the year here and discount factor. So this is the present cash flow of machine A. This is machine A and this is machine B. Yeah, so this is the discount factor 0.91, 0.83, 0.75, 0.68 and 0.62. Cash inflows as given in the question 40,000, 1,20,000, 1,60,000, 2,40,000, 1,60,000. So in order to get the present value of cash inflow, just like how we have did in the previous question, so 40,000 into 0.91, so we'll get 36,000. 1,20,000 into 0.83 will get 99,600. 1,60,000 into 0.75 will get 1,20,000. 2,40,000 into 0.68 will get 1,63,000, and 1,60,000 into 0.62 will get 99,200. So the total value is 5,18,400. This is for the machine B. So 1,20,000 into 0.91 will get 1,09,000. 1,60,000 into 0.83 will get 1,32,000. 2 lakh into 0.75 will get 1,50,000. 1,20,000 into 0.68 will get 81,600. Then 80,000 into 0.62 will get 49,000. So if you add all these, so we'll get 5,23,200. So this is the computation of the present value of cash inflow for machine A and machine B. So next step, we have to find out the cash outflow of the machine A and machine B. So in the starting of the question, they have told that, so if you can see here, the suggested costing of each machine is 4 lakh. So we'll consider this 4 lakh as to be the cash outflow. So the cash outflow will be 4 lakh rupees only. Okay. So next, we are going to calculate. Third step is about computation of the net present value of the project. So we have got the small table, present value of cash inflow for machine A and machine B. So machine A is 5,18,000 and machine B is 5,23,200. So if we deduct the present value of cash outflow, then we'll get 4 lakh and 4 lakh. So we'll get 1,18,400 and 1,23,200. So out of this, so the machine B has the highest present value. So that's why we should select the machine B. So here the NPV of machine A is rupees 1,18,400 and machine B is rupees 1,23,200. So the net present value of machine B is greater than to the machine A. So machine B is the preferable project. This is how you calculate the salvage value. So next topic is about calculation of the annuity. So we'll see the definition of annuity. An annuity is an agreement to make a series of payment of a certain amount of money to a specified person for a predetermined period of time. Okay, so annuity is all about, so the lump sum money or a desired or expected money that you are going to pay to some person for a period of time is called annuity. So like say for example, if you are going to pay for insurance, so for insurance you are going to pay for monthly some lump sum amount for a period of time. So that will be called as an annuity. That payment will be called as an annuity. Okay, so for a this is for a period of time. Okay, remember. Next, calculation of annuity is about future value of the annuity and present value of the annuity. So we'll see how to calculate the annuity in case of future value and the present value. So the future value of annuity formula, future value of annuity is equals to A into 1 plus R whole to the power of n minus 1 divided by R. So we'll see the first question. A person deposits in a bank rupees 10,000 at the end of every year for 6 years at an interest rate of 10% per annum. Calculate the future value of an annuity at the end of the 6 years. So a person has deposited into bank rupees 10,000 at the end of every year for 6 years. So at an interest rate of 10% per annum. So we are supposed to calculate the annuity value after the 6 years. So given A is equals to 10,000, R is equals to 0.10, N is equals to 6. So the calculation part, the formula future value is equals to A into 1 plus R whole to the power of N minus 1 divided by R. So 10,000 into 1 plus 0.10 whole to the power of 6 minus 1 divided by 0.10. So 10,000 into, so 1 plus 0.10 will get 1.10 whole to the power of 6 minus 1 divided by 0.10. Then 10,000 into, so 1.10 whole to the power of 6 will get 1.7715 minus 1 divided by 0.10. So if we minus it, so 10,000 into, so 0.7715 divided by 0.10. 10,000 into 7.1715 will get 77,150. So if the amount 10,000 has been deposited every year for 6 years at a annual interest of 10% per annum, so the annuity, the total maturity value the person is going to get is rupees 77,150. So next question, Mr. John deposits rupees 5,000 at the end of each year at 8% per annum. So what amount will be received at the end of 10 years? So we'll do the calculation part. So the formula is here. So here A is equals to 5,000 rupees. Then R is equals to 0.08. Then N is equals to 10 years. So we have got the enough information with us. So we'll implement here. So 5,000 into 1 plus 0.08 whole to the power of 10 minus 1 divided by 0.08. So 5,000 into 1.08 whole to the power of 10 minus 1 divided by 0.08. So 5,000 into 1.08 to the power of 10 minus 1 divided by 0.08. So 5,000 into 2.1589 minus 1 divided by 0.08. So the next step, so 5,000 into 2.1589 minus 1, 1.1589 divided by 0.08. So 1.1589 divided by 0.08 will get 5,000 into 14.62. The future value will be rupees 431. 70,431 is the future value. So if the person has been deposited 5,000 rupees for a period of 10 years. So this is how you calculate the future value in case of annuity. So next is annuity due. So we'll see the definition. So it is the one which cash flows occurs at the beginning of each interval of time. Example, repayment of loan, interest at the beginning of each month, etc. So the formula A into 1 plus R whole to the power of N minus 1 divided by R into 1 plus R. So we'll see the calculation. So Mr. X deposits rupees 1,000 at the beginning of each year into bank recurring account for 6 years at 7.5% compound interest per annum. Calculate the maturity value of the deposit. Okay. So future value is equals to 1,000 into 1 plus 0.075 whole to the power of 6 minus 1 divided by 0.05 into 1 plus 0.075. So next is 1,000 into, so 1 plus 0.075 will get 1.075 to the power of 6 minus 1. So we'll get 0.05 into 1.075. Next step, 1,000 into 1.05 to the power of 5 will get 1.5431 minus 1 divided by 0.075 into 1.075. Next, 1000 into 1.543 minus 1 will get 0.543 divided by 0.075 into 1.075. So 1000 into, so 0.543 divided by 0.075 will get 7.24 into 1.075. So 1000 into 7.783, so we'll get a value, future value of 7,783. 3. So this is how you calculate the future value in case of annuity due. So next question, Arjun agrees to invest rupees 10,000 at the end of each year for a period of 6 years in a cumulative investment scheme. The rate of interest is 10% per annum to be compounded annually. Calculate the compounded value of his annuity at the end of the 6th year. So here Arjun is going to invest rupees 10,000 at the end of each year with a interest of 10% per annum for a year of total 6 years. So the interest has been calculated annually. Okay. Then calculate the compounded value of the annuity at the end of the 6 years. The formula A into 1 plus R whole to the power of n minus 1 divided by R into 1 plus R. So we'll do the calculation. So we have got the annuity value 10,000 into 1 plus R value is 0.10 whole to the power of n is 6 years minus 1 divided by 0.10 into 1 plus 0.10. So 10,000 into, so 1.10 whole to the power of 6 minus 1 divided by 0.10 into 1 plus 0.10 will get 1.10. So next step, 10,000 into 1.10 whole to the power of 6 will get 1.11. So we'll get 10,000 into 1.10 whole to the power of 6 will get 1.1115 minus 1 divided by 0.10 into 1.10. So next step, 10,000 into, so 1.1115 minus 1 will get 0.7715 divided by, so we have the same denominator 0.10 into 1.10. So next step, 10,000 into 0.7715 divided by 0.10, so we'll get 7.715. 7.715 into 1.10. Then 10,000 into 8.486. So 8.4865. So we'll get future value of 84,865. This is your future value. So I hope you have got the calculation. So next, present value of the annuity. So we have got two formulas. So present value of annuity is equals to A1 divided by 1 plus R whole to the power of 1, A2 divided by 1 plus R whole to the power of 2, A3 divided by 1 plus R whole to the power of 3, and so on. Or we have got one more formula is A into 1 plus R whole to the power of n minus 1 divided by R into 1 plus R whole to the power of n. So we'll see the question. So Mr. X expects to receive rupees 10,000 annually for 4 years, each receipt occurring at the end of every year. What is the present value of this stream of benefits if the discount rate is 10%? So Mr. X is expected to receive 10,000 after 4 years. So with a receipt of occurring of every year. Then what is the present value of the stream of the benefits if the discount rate is 10,000. So we'll substitute the values here. So present value is equals to A is the annuity amount. So 10,000 into 1 plus 0.10 whole to the power of 4 minus 1 divided by 0.10 into 1 plus 0.10 whole to the power of 4. Next step, 10,000 into 1 plus 0.10 will get 1.10 whole to the power of 4 minus 1 divided by 0.10 into 1 plus 0.10 will get 1.1 or 1.10 whole to the power of 4. Then 10,000 into 1.10 whole to the power of 4 will get 1.4641 minus 1 divided by 0.10 into, so 1.1 whole to the power of 4 will get 1.4641. So next step, 10,000 into 0.4641 divided by 0.14641. So if we divide these two, then we'll get 3.1698. So if you multiply with 10,000, we'll get total of rupees 31,698. This is how you calculate the present value of the annuity. So next is present value of perpetuity. So that means a perpetuity annuity is an annuity for an indefinite duration of period. So like till now we have seen the questions where there is a maturity value was given in the question. So but here that kind of annuity is not having the expected duration, but it is having the infinite duration. The formula here is P is equals to A divided by R. So P is for perpetuity, then A is for annuity, then R is for rate of interest. So the annual cash flow for a perpetuity is rupees 10,000. The rate of interest is 10% per annum. Calculate the present value of the perpetuity. So then next here if you can see there is a small note here. So when it is not clear from the problem whether it is perpetuity for immediate or perpetuity due, so it needs to be considered as perpetuity immediate. Okay, so then P is equals to A divided by R. So 10,000 divided by 0.10. So we'll get a annuity of rupees 1 lakh. This is small problems, you might going to get it for 2 marks. Okay, so this is the calculation part of present value of perpetuity. So next session we are going to learn about valuation of bonds and debentures and valuation of preference shares. So these are also an important topic. So bonds or debentures is also important. So we'll see what are the different types of bonds we have got and how to calculate the bonds or debentures and the valuation of the preference shares as well. In this session, so we have learned about the calculation of annuity, calculation of salvage value. So in the next session, we are going to calculate the valuation of bonds or debentures, valuation of preference shares, and one more concept is valuation of equity shares. All these we are going to solve in the next session. So I'll meet you in the next session. Thank you so much.